Second.
Hi Anna, are we live here?
Yes, now we're live. All right. So we're live on
Okay.
Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at the same time. So, welcome everyone to part two of our Ask, Learn, and Do series. And it's Trinity Week this time, and we are talking about the Masters in Education at Trinity College Dublin. We have with us Dr. Anne Devitt, who is Associate Professor, Education and Head of School. Hi, Anne. And next to
Hello
her,
everybody. Yeah.
we have Sheena Helbert, who's the Executive Officer of this Master's Program. Thank you both,
Hi.
for doing this with us today.
We're delighted to meet you.
So, and just to begin with, maybe you could give us an overview of the MEd in education.
Sure. So first of all, you can see out the back here, this is Trinity College. I am sitting in one of the main offices in the School of Education. We're in the Arts Building. So when you come on to do the Masters in Education, you join us here in this beautiful community and this beautiful environment here. The Masters in Education is a 90 credit program. So we have, it has a dissertation component and then 6 taught modules. So our Masters is designed to be as flexible as possible for students coming on the program. So we have 4 kind of fixed pathways that you can choose, 4 fixed strands. We have a Masters in Higher Education, a Masters in Drama in Education, a Masters in Psychology of Education, and the final one,
Higher learning.
Yeah, final one in higher ed, yeah. And then we have an open pathways program, and this one is something that we've redesigned this year, and it allows students choice in their modules. So they come on the Masters to do their 6 taught modules, and 2 of those are research methods modules. So they talk about how to do research in education and how to examine research in education. 2 of those modules are within a core pathway that they pick, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what those pathways are in a minute. And then 2 are open choice, they're optional from a range of 27 modules. So this means if I come on the program and I'm really interested in drama, for example, I can do my core modules in drama in education, and then I can choose an inclusion module or a maths module or whatever. So there's really a lot of flexibility with. Say a bit about what the kind of range of areas are. So we have sets of modules or pathways in music education, arts education, including drama, inclusive education, early intervention. So that's focused very much on young people who require, intensive intervention in their early years. Higher education, so focused on 3rd level. Language education, so that's for people who might be interested in teaching English as a foreign language, or in bilingualism and so on. Leadership and policy is for all those out there who are looking to take leadership roles in education. Maths education, psychology of education, science and society. So there's a really broad range in there around citizen science and so on. And then we have philosophy, social policy, assessment, and ICT. So you can see the breadth of possibilities for the students coming in on our master's program.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, and I mean, clearly, you've shown us the scope, and so is this why you revamped it to include a lot more sort of possibilities for those who complete, graduate with this degree?
Yeah, so we had great fun at the start of this year and the end of last year, talking to our graduates, talking to our students, working with the staff about what would be a really excellent design. What would you be looking for in a master's program? And what our students and our graduates said is they want the depth of expertise that we bring. So, Trinity is the leading university in Ireland. We are the leading school of education in Ireland. We're 62nd in the world, so we're really very high-ranking university. So our staff here are, internationally renowned experts in their field. So we've got that depth of expertise. But what students also wanted was, some breadth. They wanted to be able to focus in on their core area of interest, but also maybe to reach out into other areas that might be of relevance, where they might want to just kind of begin to explore other areas. So that's why we designed that Open Pathways program, which allows you to get the depth in the core modules, but also that breadth across choice modules. What students and graduates were also really keen to do, and this is why we developed 2 new research methods modules. So we always had research methods on the program, but our students and graduates said, we really love to explore how research is done in education, how to interpret and critique research that's out there. So those 2 core modules on research methods, first of all, they absolutely prepare people to conduct a dissertation, a really high quality dissertation in their area of interest. And secondly, they allow them to research and read and critique existing work in the field. So they're absolutely invaluable. So that whole design came out of our consultation with staff and students and graduates. And it's been really exciting to make those changes this year.
Great. I mean, I love that you're sort of listening and modifying as you go along to better meet the needs of the students. I think that's a lot. The reputation of Trinity, and of course the School of Education. It makes sense. And
yeah, I mean, maybe just to say about that, like one of a kind of a core principle for us here in the school, and a really core area of expertise, is around inclusion. And, inclusion is one part for people to feel belonging within our school, but another part is for them to be able to participate and take ownership. And so we do reach out to our students for feedback, certainly on the modules, but also, our student reps are part of our school committee, our school executive, and so on. So we're really, we work hard with our students to make sure that our programs meet their needs. And we also, we support them very well. We look after them. We know them well. So it's always a pleasure at the start of the year when they come in on induction to meet all of our new students, and at the very end of the year to see them passing out through graduation. It's a real joy.
Wonderful. And I know we're talking about students, so who would be the ideal sorts of students that should apply for this degree? Is there any sort of eligibility that you're looking for?
Yeah, so the key eligibility is an undergraduate at a 2-1 level or the equivalent. So, a strong undergraduate degree. It's not a requirement of the program. So students can come on the program even if they are not teachers, if they are working in fields related to education. So we've had we've had teachers, we've had principals, we've had people working in NGOs, so non-governmental organizations, people working in community education, people working in business who are in the area of HR or professional development and so on. So there's really quite a wide range of backgrounds that might come on for people who come on the program. But the baseline requirements are the degree at the 2-1 level or equivalent. The English language requirement is the same on our program as across the university. And
the research proposal as well. You'd also need to submit a proposal in your area of research interest. So that they'd be like the most important parts to include in your application.
Yeah. So the research proposal, people are coming in on a master's. They don't, this might be the first piece of research they've ever done. So the key thing about the research proposal is to know what you're interested in. So you to ask yourself the question, what would I love to find out more about? And then just to kind of articulate that in a 1-page proposal. we're not expecting people to be coming in as experts. That's why you're coming, as expert researchers. That's why you're coming on the masters, to learn those skills. And you certainly will develop those skills there. So the proposal is really about, it demonstrates your interest and your excitement and your focus for the master's project that you're going to undertake.
And so is this the research proposal? Will that be what they do for their thesis in their final semester, or?
Yeah, so I suppose one thing to note for people who are full-time on the program, they start their thesis work, within a couple of weeks of arriving. So they're assigned a supervisor, and they'll be doing their reading, so it's kind of considered as something that runs through the year as kind of a baseline. So it goes in stages. We've worked with many students and we know the kind of rhythms of the year. So they do a lot of reading and so on at the start, and developing their literature review and all of those and their project. So what usually happens is somebody writes their proposal, and they have that idea and they just talk about that, in their when they come to interview, and that's the kind of key thing they want to find out about. And then at the start of the year, when they're assigned a supervisor, with the supervisor, they discuss, what is practical, what is possible, what's within the scope of a master's. So it'll usually be in the same topic area, but we might, in discussion with the supervisor, you work through exactly what the project will look like in the end. So sometimes people, they don't really know they're not really too clear on what they want to do. And so they have they specify an area, and they have a rough idea of what project they want to do. And then in discussion with their supervisor, the supervisor might suggest something, and they're like, oh, I love that idea. We'll go with that idea. So there's definitely flexibility. You're not locked in specifically to the very, to the wording of what you put in the proposal.
Great. Thank you. And I'll take a moment and ask all those of you who are joining in, please send in your questions, and I'll be happy to ask Anne or Sheena to answer them. Sheena, maybe I know Anne has mentioned a few things around the application process. So your English test, a rough guideline on who should typically apply, and the research proposal. Is there anything else that you could add to that application process?
Well, they have to have 2 references, so they can be academic references. We also accept a professional reference, but we do prefer academic references. And then obviously they need to have their proposal and their English language scores, which have to be 6.5 on the English language score. And so we could collect all those documents and then process the application. And if they're deemed successful, they'll be shortlisted for interview. And the interviews normally last about 20 minutes, and we would focus on the applicant's professional experience, their strengths, why they're looking to join the program, and what they hope to get out of it. And then we also have some research questions as well based around their proposal. So that would be the process, the application process.
That's so interesting, because I remember when I also applied for my master's at Trinity, and the professor said actually that the references really counted for a lot, which is so interesting for me, because generally what you hear is, it's everything is merit, and of course that is important, but so they tend to sort of give the references a lot more importance, which is wonderful to hear. So this is obviously, yes, sorry, go ahead.
Just to say, like, the references are important for the evaluation, but also we require them to actually issue an unconditional offer. So we have to get them in the end, even at whatever time, but certainly they're really important to get a flavor for who the person is and, and what they're looking to get out of the course. Yeah.
So thank you. So it is a very detailed process, and I think you want to make sure that it is a good group of students that you have. So what is a typical class size?
So because we have the different strands, We usually have somewhere, what's it, around 120?
100, yeah.
120 in the full year. And it's in the research methods modules, the full group are there together. And that's actually something that's a real positive for the students, because they'll be in there. I'll talk about the kind of their focused area in a minute, but in the research methods, they get to come together with a really diverse group and to share experiences and learning around research. So that's for those two modules. But most of the time for, modules are typically around 20 students. They can be, a little bit lower than that, a little bit higher than that, but it's very much a small, focus on small group teaching, very hands-on, very interactive, very collaborative. So they're, the classes they're not like a big anonymous lecture theatre. We're together in a seminar room having a discussion with inputs from, from a range of areas. So they're very much small group, inclusive, collaborative experience.
Great. And of course, one of the most important questions that we keep getting is on the tuition fee. So, Sheena, if you can give us an idea on what is the expected tuition fee for international students, and if you have any that are open.
No problem. Well, the tuition fees, everything is on our website, and I advise students to go onto the School of Education website and to go onto the IMED course, and the fees are listed. So there'll be for international students, the fees would be listed there.
And that's the one piece of information we don't have written in front of us, so I'm going to get it now. We'll come back to that in a second.
Thank you, Anne.
Yeah.
And what about scholarships, Sheena? Would you have any idea if international students?
The students can apply for scholarship. They can apply to Trinity College Global. So that would be on the global team at tcd.ie. And it's global at tcd.ie, and they would advise on scholarships in that department.
Okay.
And also there's another facility that students can avail of. There's the Trinity College Global Room, and this is like specifically for international students. When they come to Dublin, or even before they arrive, they can ask. There's a team of student ambassadors there, and they can, advise students on any queries they have, might be in relation to fees or housing, anything like that. And it's also a great space once students arrive on campus. There's events on movie screenings, or different kind of festivals and events held on site in the global room. So it's a great opportunity for students to immerse themselves in the culture of Trinity College.
So I can update you on the fee. So the full-time fee, so for international students, you'd be coming on the 1-year full-time program, and that's €13,800. So 13800. So it's very competitive relative to other institutions in Ireland, and also relative to other schools. The schools that differ a little bit. So the Masters in Education is, we would hope, accessible to a wide cohort.
I'm sure. Thank you for checking that out, Anne. And I know you've given us an idea on the types of students, the sort of spaces that they come from, or sectors, and I'm assuming they can go back to those sectors. But any other sort of career opportunities that would be open to students once they complete this degree?
Yeah, so the kind of the range of skills, so specifically, research skills, transversal skills, and that kind of emphasis on critical thinking really qualify our graduates to enter a whole range of professions. I mean, typically, I would say, or the kinds of areas that people enter, you'd often see people leave the masters and move into, they might be, teaching, or kind of at that level, they might move into policy work, so move into government, or local, regional, national government. They might move into leadership, so school leadership, or even subject leadership, or that kind of thing. We have very tight relationship with Learnovate, which is an educational technology center of excellence. And, you know, so there are those who move into the kind of educational technology sector, because there's certainly there's great scope there for people coming from a master's in education. And what other?
I mean, it does, like, they can progress like within the education field, you know, become principals, or you know, move in that direction. Like and then they can even go into kind of academia side of things as well if they wish to. So there's great opportunities.
Yeah, we'd have a lot of people who come from our masters and move on to doctorate. You know, that's a very definite pathway. And then we have like kind of specific areas. So the drama in education masters, it's really unique globally. It is pretty much the only masters of its kind in the world. And that masters has both this really rich range of practical drama expertise and the whole critical development of on the educational side. So so people coming out of that could move into, you know, performance, or like into arts-based practice, or into the, you know, the wider field of arts. So there's a really diverse range. The same goes for the music and education modules. So there's an emphasis on both performance and on the education side. And in the science modules, we look really closely at science communication. So there is a whole range of opportunities in that field where you're looking at businesses or you know, research centers or whatever, who need to communicate what they're doing outwards to the wider world. And so the science and society modules focus on both that communication outward and the, you know, how you communicate the impact of science and science research in the world, but also about how to conduct science in the public sphere, so doing citizen science and so on. So there's really quite a wide range depending on your specialism. Of course, the expertise in inclusive education here, you know, there's a whole range of pathways there around resource teaching, but also leadership in inclusive education and special education and so on.
Great, great. I think it's brilliant that you've actually included all these sort of different modules that can help students, you know, get ready for a certain field. But also, I find that, you know, this whole idea of a discipline or subject like the humanities, like if it's English or education or the social sciences, you know, people often have this idea that it's not something that will lead to a very substantial career. And I think what you're
Oh,
doing here is totally, you know, sort of myth. So that's really
yeah,
great. And
yeah.
I think, yeah, and that's what we would love to show, because Trinity has such a excellent background for education, for the humanities, all of these sort of subjects. So we were very keen to sort of do this live with you for that reason as well.
Yeah, no, delighted to. And actually, I'd invite anybody who's watching to go to our course webpage, and there's a link to a YouTube playlist for all of our modules. So there's just a little short 90-second intro with the lecturer on, you know, what each module is about and what you'd expect to get out of that module. But it'll get you to know the staff of the school, because, you know, we're able to offer this wide range of modules because we have such a breadth of expertise in the school. So, you know, you get a sense of who, you know, what are the different modules about, which would I like to focus on, and, you know, this is the person who I'll be working with. So it's a really nice way to get a good sense of the school.
Wonderful, wonderful. I will ask you something about the module in a second, Anne, but we have a question on if someone wants to actually, study further after completing this degree, how would they go about that process?
To apply for a doctorate?
That's right. So what would be
Yeah,
the next
yeah.
sort of step?
The step, yeah. So a doctorate is nearly like, so we actually run 2 doctorates in the School of Education. One of them it's called a DEd, and that's a kind of a part-time professional doctorate. And our main, the core doctorate is the PhD, which people would take on full time. And it's almost like a personal relationship with the supervisor. So the advantage of coming in on the master's program is you get to meet the staff and the school, and together you might talk about a possible project for doctorate. So we have a member of staff actually in the school who came through our master's, did a doctorate, and just, I mean, we weren't creating a job for her, but she's now working with us here in the School of Education. So that kind of pathway. But it was through the master's work that she was able to explore her ideas for a doctorate and then take that further. So during the master's, she was able to meet the staff and think about who it is she'd like to work with, and they were able to have that discussion and work planning out a proposal. When it comes to a doctorate, people often want to go for scholarships, so it can be useful to have that in mind quite early in the year, so to be thinking about your doctoral proposal even from the start of your master's, just so so that you're prepared for that cycle of for application and applying for a scholarship. You basically have to apply to do the doctorate, but the kind of process is to get to know the supervisor and develop your proposal together.
Great. And you would have an advantage having done a master's and interacted with the professor.
Oh, very definitely. People, there's a number of people started on a doctorate this year who have come directly from masters last year.
Great. Thank you. And I know you were talking about modules. Is there any module or a certain class that you enjoy teaching that you can tell us about?
Yeah, that's a lovely question. So my area is language education. And so the module that I teach on that particular strand is the introductory module. And I've worked it in different ways every year, but what I love about it is my area is language, so I just think it's amazing. And probably a lot of the people on your call, they probably speak more than one language, and it's just like our capacity to do that. It's fabulous. So what we do in that module is we start by looking at kind of patterns of language development. We look at a bit of data, and then after that we start looking at the theories. So how people try to explain this amazing thing that is us learning languages, learning 1, 2, 3, and different kind of research theories have looked at that in different ways. And so we set about, the first half is looking at what are these patterns and what does the data show us? And the second half is all about how people try to explain that. And what I find interesting in the language learning literature is we really don't know yet. It's so open. So there's theories that work, but we don't know the full picture, same as in any science or in any field of exploration. And it's so exciting to think that you can be looking at, okay, I'm looking at what the next stage of development in this theory is going to be. So it's a fun class to explore with people.
Wonderful. And you can see the passion with which you will obviously be teaching it. So that's great. Now, I think we've had a wonderful sort of idea on what students can expect during this, when they do this master's. Any final thoughts before we wrap up for today?
So Anna, the sound, I don't know if it's our connection or yours, but we're not picking up on the sound there. So can you repeat your question?
Yeah. So sorry. So I just meant that, any final thoughts before we end for today?
Maybe will we show the next slide?
Yeah. Good idea.
Here, let's have a look. Yeah. So this is a grey day in Trinity. Out here is where, over here, I don't know if we can see it quite, there's a building called the Long Room Hub, where people do a lot of work. Down here below, we've got all of the students hanging out. You can probably hear them. Over this direction, we have our libraries. I don't know if you can quite hear the student buzz out there, but here, we'll just sit down again. I did my master's in Trinity. I did my undergrad, my master's in Trinity. It's a great place to study. it's a, you know,
there's a wonderful vibe on campus that it's even Dublin City is small, so it's got a real kind of nice community feel for students, you know.
Yeah, and actually, in our school, you know, we have 500 students. I'd say everybody knows them all by name. You know, we're a very well connected school, and we look after our students. You know, it's something that we pride ourselves on. So we hope that you consider coming over to us for your masters.
Yeah, we hope to see some of you very soon, hopefully.
Yep.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I think that little brief peek has made me super nostalgic as well. I think I spent a lot of time on those gardens on those few
Yeah.
sunny days that we had over the summer.
Exactly.
So
We do
thank
get
you
them
for that.
sometime.
And yes, I know it does happen. It's not. But thank you, Anne. Thank you, Sheena. That was a wonderful half hour spent, and everyone else listening in, we will share details on the masters along with the email IDs if you need additional information on the programs or any information around it. And yes, and look, I mean, consider the MEd, and Trinity is a wonderful place to study, as you've listened in. Thanks again for joining us this evening. Thank you, Anne and Sheena, and
Thank
take
you.
care.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye bye.